Well, with all the concern around lowering greenhouse gas emissions, improving environmental footprints, one of the things we don't talk much about is used oil. Where does it go? What do we do with it? We're going to talk to David Laws, who's head of the BC Used Oil Management Association, about a new depot in Creston that collects used oil for recycling, and talk about the provincial program. So welcome to the interview, David.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me on.
Comfort Welding in Creston has put in the facilities to collect oil from its customers, from folks in Creston. What does that actually look like?
Yeah, it's really cool. We have these facilities around the province. And Creston, what we've done is we put in our newest infrastructure. It's like a modified sea container with a graded floor, because you know oil is messy business, when especially used oil. There's a double walled tank inside there, and everything's set up for the consumer or the retailer to take back oil or antifreeze or filters or containers from the public and safely collect them for recycling.
Well, that's terrific. So there's a couple of things to unpack here. And what happens to the oil? How does it get recycled? I mean, do you just take the contaminants out? Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's a really good news story in British Columbia. 3/4 of the used oil collected is taken back to a re-refinery and turned back into new motor oil. So great circular economy, environmental story there. And why we have these facilities designed like this is the quicker we can get it back and the cleaner we can get it back, the more likely we can turn it back into new lubricating oil. So yeah, the oil is re-refined, some of the contaminants are removed, some enhancements are provided, and it's sold on the market, sold on the shelves.
And what about oil filters, for instance? I've changed done a few oil changes in my day, and I'm having a little trouble, thinking like, how would you recycle a filter?
Yeah, you can take filters back to our depots as well. There should be a drum or a container there to collect them. They're a little bit messy, as you know, as you change a filter. So you want to take all the oil out and let it drain for a while into your oil pan. But bring it back to one of our depots. We'll get that collected. The steel filters all go back to steel recycling and turned into new products. The paper filters go to energy.
Oh, you mean like they get incinerated to make electricity, that sort of thing?
Yeah, energy recovery through an incinerator. Some of the energy is recovered that way. There's no recycling technology that we're aware of yet that can take an oil-soaked paper filter and do a good recycling job with that. So energy is the good solution there.
And what about antifreeze? I mean, antifreeze is kind of a bit of a nasty product. I mean, it can be toxic if you ingest it, but it seems to me like to be a difficult product to recycle. How do you recycle that?
Well, and this is another good news story in British Columbia. Antifreeze, as you mentioned, needs to be handled carefully, and so that's why we have these facilities. But it's all collected and brought back to a few facilities locally in British Columbia here, turned back into new antifreeze products, either antifreeze you see on the shelf, or sometimes it goes into windshield washer fluid, which has an antifreeze component to it.
Now, I saw in your press release that last year your organization members recycled 51 million liters of oil. That's a lot of oil.
Yeah, that was our biggest year ever. We've been around since 2004, but we've never had a volume quite like that. It just shows that all the things we're doing is just growing the network across BC, and it shows that British Columbians like to recycle. And that's really important as well. So between our communications to British Columbians, the facilities we have, the collectors and processors we work with, are able to continue to improve the program to collect more oil and antifreeze.
Final question, David. If let's say I want to go get my oil changed and I want to make sure that used oil gets recycled, how do I find one of your members?
Yeah, so all the lube shops in British Columbia will be using a registered collector and processor. So any shop you go to, you can feel assured. You can probably ask them to make sure that they're registered if they want to talk about that. But any shop in British Columbia, we're the only program in BC that does this. So all those shops have to, get rid of the product that they've taken out of vehicles, and it all goes through one of our registered collectors and processors. So if you take it back, you can be assured it's going to a good environmental solution.
Great. Great feel-good environmental story, David. Thank you very much for this.
Thanks again for having me on.